Good afternoon.
David Moore, Dallas Morning News. You talked to us a lot about September football and the elements of that. How do you define December football?
Is it December already?
Well, it will be by the time.
Okay, yeah.
The
No, I think, the old adage, everybody remembers November, December, and I think that's the reality of our league. And, especially going to 17 games, you can see, just look at the game Sunday, this past Sunday. Just the competitiveness and, people scratching to, stay alive, and, the records are, people are trying to pull away and people are trying to fight to get back in. So I think this is, clearly the best quality of football, potentially, of the season. I've always felt that, September, especially with the training camps and just the way things are these days, it takes some teams a little longer than others. And so October starts to come together, but I think it's, the best football is in front of us.
And you've talked before just how you adjust your schedule late in the year too. Just in general, what are some of the things you'll do in this upcoming month to keep?
Well, I try to reduce it. There's numbers that I'm trying to hit, and the thing that I've spent a lot of time on, because you got to remember my template was at a place where the travel was a lot less. The stress is minimal, just compared to other places. I know when I was in San Francisco, the number of trips that we had across the Mississippi River my year out there. It's you leave on a Friday, which was a great idea, but the return was very difficult because you really get back really Monday morning. And so that adds up. It adds up on the players. It adds up on everybody. But at the end of the day, the players have to play and perform. So just always paying attention to those types of things. I've always done the winter schedule because your efficiency of game planning, your efficiency of install, the efficiency of the teaching is a lot higher this time. We're not in there recreating the wheel, each and every week. If you're doing that, then you got to take a hard look at your game plan process. So just being in touch with all that and trying to cut it down. So this particular group, we're gonna start later but finish at the same time. And I'm just trying to, I've been really inspired by Dak's sleep commercials. So I'm just trying to get them more sleep. But they better use it for sleep. But so just those type of things. It's rest and recovery is such an important component of these professional athletes, their life, and just all the extra resources that they put into it. Just trying to be in touch with that. Obviously, educating your younger players through this process, but it lays up pretty cleanly. We got three 7-day preps in a row, but then obviously we go 7 days. Was it 7 days, 6 days, 5 days, 10 days? So that's out of balance. So I'm trying to pay it forward, frankly.
Clarence for Telegram. How's your team's health in regards to the flu bug after the mini bye? You sound better, for sure.
Yeah, good. I feel better. But got a lot of kids around the house this weekend, so I'm fighting back. But no, we're in good shape. We just had a couple guys that were a little under, but no, I waited till Sunday to finalize today's schedule because I just wanted to see how the whole team and their families made it through the weekend, because we talked about potentially going into virtual mode today, and so I kind of cut the practice down, and we did the practice stuff in the weight training part of it. So I was really pleased with the on the field work that we got done today in the weight room phase. So and we just had our normal meetings. We just went special teams OD and just finished with the team meeting. So we got a chance to really go back and go a little extra hard on the Minnesota and the Giants prep. So it was really like a 2-game review.
Michael Galkin, Dallas Morning News. Will any players have their 21-day practice windows starting on Wednesday, including James Washington?
Talked about it briefly today, so hopefully we'll have some news for you by Wednesday. But there's no decisions been made. Talked about it briefly in the personnel, but I've been in the the player meetings and that all day today.
John Michaud, The Athletic. You mentioned guys that with illness, but what about in health coming out of the game, particularly J-Ron Curse?
Yeah, J-Ron's been here. Saw him in here, for treatment. So he's if we were the practice, if we were to set the practice plan for Wednesday, I think he'd be at best maybe limited, you know. So, but he's making progress. So I mean, we'll give him every chance to play Sunday night.
Mike Todd, Archer of the ESPN. When you talked about the players' schedule and easing up and backing off a little bit, how
No,
much?
we're not easing up. We're just being more efficient, Todd.
Okay, there you go. Better way of saying it. How much do they have to show
I'm sure you write it that way. So
the responsibility of handling that?
it's a big part of it. I mean, you know, especially the younger players. You know, you don't, you know, worry. You know, if you think about, you know, you think about your time in the league and just, you know, when you're in a draft and develop mode each and every year, and you know how fast those young guys can grow up. It's, you know, it's not always just talking about their, you know, their plays on the field. It's how they prepare to, you know, for a long season. Because you know it's, you know, we just played 11 games, and you know a lot of these college players, their seasons are over already. You know, because you know they've played 14 games, counting the 3 preseason games. So just being in touch with those kind of things, and I think it gives these guys a chance to, you know, maybe sleep an extra hour, and I think that's important. But, you know, I tell you, the one thing the pandemic, I know it did for me personally, is just the importance of virtual work, because I'm not a big fan of homework. I mean, you know, and I've complained about this, and it has nothing to do with which school my children go to, but I don't understand why you send a child to school and they, you know, for 8 hours and they're going to come home with 2 hours of homework. You know, so, but you know, there is this is a professional occupation where you can be a little more efficient, but also with the resources and the things that we can send these guys home with. And because let's be honest, the interaction that they have with one another. I mean, there's such high value for the defensive backs to get together and go through their preparation. You know, at the end of the day, or you go in there, the O-line group is sticking around. The tight ends are always in there. So, to me, there's such value in that. So, as many different ways as you can try to promote that. And most importantly, what your players engage in that, you know, those kind of things are all part of this process.
And then one more with what happened with Odell Beckham over the weekend. Does that alter the team's view of what they of an impending visit or anything like that?
Really haven't been involved in a conversation about it, but I know for personally, you know, based off of, you know, my understanding, I think we're moving full steam ahead.
With the focus on cadence and improving the pre-snap operation, what did that look like today now that the offense was able to get back together and work on that?
Well, yeah, we didn't work on that particular today. I actually went back and reviewed all the penalties the last 2 days with video and went through every one of them. Went through our 36 pre-snap penalties of the year. So I mean, it's a product of how we're doing. We're doing a lot of things in that area, but we need to be better, and clearly. So just highlighting the specific things that have occurred, but more importantly, you know, how can we be better? You know, just clearly understanding when there is a shift, or is there emotion, or a shift in emotion, because I mean you're seeing some patterns that have occurred, and you know, and I just think like anything, I mean it's great to be on the ball and getting in plays that you want to be in all the time, but it does, you know, stresses your center and your up front people and so forth. So, but you got, you know, I don't want to say balance is not the right word, but if you look at our efficiency the last month, particularly on offense, you know, because, you know, a lot of these pre-snap penalties occur, we're definitely hitting a target. You know, we have 60 rushes and completions against the Giants, 66 of them against the Vikings. So there's a lot of really good things that we're moving forward, and trust me, I'm clearly on top of the things that are not going well. And the penalties is, you know, trust me, penalties is, you know, penalty prevention and education is something we're spending more time on it. But you know, I don't want to lose the aggressiveness of our play style and in our efficiency that we've really established this past month, because I think if we can continue to get better, and which we have improved over the last 3 weeks, if we can continue to get better, it's all in front of us. And so we are putting the time in, I can promise you that.
Dave Loffberg, Cowboys Radio. Mike, I know the obvious answer is it's one more game, but the difference between the 16th and 17 game schedule, and obviously you went through it last year for the first time.
Yeah.
Does it change anything?
I'll tell you what, babe, I felt it, you know, because it is another week. And I'm not saying like I felt it personally. I felt it with the players. You know, it's, you know, and I think some of it is human nature. You know, I think, you know, you get to Christmas, you're used to, okay, hey, man, playoffs around the corner. And then, New Year's is here. You're in the first round of it. So I mean, there is some of that. So I think there's a little bit like, whoa, this is a little longer than I remember. And but the GPS is a great tool. Used it today. So it was kind of cool to put together a projected practice and miss it by 2 points. So I mean, so you got to pay attention to those things. Is my point. And that's where this winter schedule, all these things are, the flights, the flights the last 2 years compared to, my last job. I mean, it's 5 times more stress. So, I mean, those are the kind of things I, pay attention to. So is it one more road game? Is it one more, home game? I mean, you look at all those things because the nice thing about the GPS is that you can look at the weighted workload capacity over the course of a season and, and it's not trying to hit it exactly, but you do want to be in the right realm of that. So in another week, especially at this time of year, I think you definitely feel. I think you feel more now because they added on to the end of the year than if they would have started earlier. That's just my opinion, but just because of there's so much that goes into this time of year.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. When you talk about alternate schedules, is it harder for veteran guys to make that
Oh, they
decision?
love it, man. I mean, I'm serious. I can't wait for Christmas. I mean, my God. I mean, no, but
Because veteran guys are so used to the way it used to be, and now they.
no, that's a good point. Now, your veteran guys are your most regimented, but they're your most efficient ones too. I mean, so, and that's where, those conversations in the locker room, the continuing conversations of why we're doing it are so important. Frankly, I put a lot of this responsibility on the leadership council. I mean, and they understand. I'm not doing this to be a nice guy. Because I mean, look at me. Who likes me? So I mean, it's just it's about it's the right thing for our team, and it always has been. I think it's always. Gave the guys a little bit of a breath of fresh air. I felt like their energies were, was where it needed to be in December. I've always thought the winter schedule was an important part of scheduling.
Mike Drury, Epstein, Yahoo Sports. When you look at Dak's recent interceptions and him playing a little bit more aggressive, how have you seen quarterbacks over the course of their career maybe change how aggressive they are once they become more confident in the system? And how do you balance maybe a quarterback feels like they have a better understanding, but the receiver still has to be on the same page?
Well, that's a great question, but the reality of it is I think you just have to look at every one of those, and you got to put them in a category. Decision interceptions, those are the ones you don't want. Just when you're trying to throw through a keyhole that's just not necessary. So I mean, if you look at his two this past week, one is a potential throwaway because we thought we had a free play. We thought that we had the defensive end off sides, and then he had rush in the A gap, and he was just trying to get it out to I think it was Michael on a back shoulder. So I mean, that's an unfortunate interception. Obviously you don't ever like when it happens, but I mean, there's other components involved to why it happened. So. Don't really hold that one as a big minus. It's just, but and then the one down the middle of the field, that's to me that's just more reps of two guys, and it's too. I want them to take that throw. I mean we just got to get the ball there a little quicker. So that's those are when it's on the throw in the timing. Those are competitive interceptions. It's the decision ones that you go, whoa, that's okay. We don't want those, and Dak is a good decision maker. So trust me, these guys get tired of me talking about ball security and turnover differential because it's a huge part of our success and always will be because we put the time into it. But he needs to make those. He needs to take those throws. Number one. So it's not. So the decisions were correct. So and then you just have some of those things too. Just like some of these penalties. They're spinning out of blocks and we got cloth. We got to get our hands out of there. So I mean, it's all those little things and the indicators that you just got to continue to work. And that's the beauty of this game.
And one more, you mentioned you haven't finalized any decisions for Wednesday, but where's Tyron Smith's health in relation to where it was?
Where's his health? It looks great, but I mean until I'm told he's returned to play, that's kind of the way it goes. But I mean Tyron's here every day. I mean he looks his workouts have been very impressive. So, I mean, he's getting close.
So he has not been cleared to return.
Not today. No, not today. Not today. You guys will be the second to know.
Scott Ritson with the AP. It's been kind of
Or
a top-
third.
Yeah,
Probably know
third,
before I
fourth,
will.
yeah.
Yeah.
it's been kind of a topsy-turvy season for the Colts. How does that influence your all's preparation?
Boy, I mean, you can't. So, I mean, that's the worst thing we could do because, once again, I'm a huge believer in this. And these uncommon opponents, you got 3 in a row here. So, I mean, that's where my mind is. I think they have 6 players on their roster that played against, our football team back in 2018. So, extra to me, there's extra time on the video. We got to get to know these guys, better. Clearly than, the last 2 teams we played. We played the Giants twice a year and played the Vikings last 3 years in a row. So, that's where you really have to go. I mean, you just watch the games on Sunday. Anybody can beat anybody in this league.
DallasCowboys.com. Coach, can you talk about Michael Gallup's progression and specifically how much confidence he's been playing with these last
Yeah, I love the game Michael had Thursday against the Giants. I mean, he got some really clean opportunities. I mean, his contested catches, had some really good run blocking, and yards after the catch. So I think, as we said, Michael just needs to continue to get those opportunities. But I thought he played very well Thursday.
Mike, you talked about the efficiency you guys have had here on offense the last month or so since Dak has been back. Is this something that you feel different about where you were last year at this time, where it seemed like maybe you guys were always chasing those first 6 games of the year before you got hurt, and now the arrow is pointing out how much you guys are doing as the season's gone on?
Well, I know we hit a spot there last year. Our production wasn't quite what we'd like, but to be honest with you, every year is so different. There's, momentum is such a huge part of this game, week in and week out, play in and play out. So, I think the biggest thing is, when you have a game like we did in Minnesota, like you like to capture that and put it in a bottle and all that stuff, that's not, as we know, not realistic. But, but those are emotional headspaces that you need to stay in touch with, because to really grow you need those type of moments. And so I like the way our curve's going offensively. So I mean we're getting the ball ran. The touches to the running backs are there. In the completion percentage the last 3 weeks overall. That's the way you want to play. I mean I know I already hit this already, but 66 rushes and completions. I mean that's 95% of your plays that the ball's being distributed. The goal is to be 75% or more. We were 60% or 60 rushes and completions against the Giants. I think we're 83% or something. So we're getting the ball distributed, and that's a big part of it. Because now your game plans are getting exercised. You're staying in favorable down and distance. You're not playing uphill. We just got to work on the self-inflicting components of it, and that's a good place to be.
How difficult is it with Damone has been doing? Damone,
How important?
How difficult is it, just the surgery he had in March and all the time that he's missed, and then being able to give you almost 50 defensive snaps the other day? Just how can you maybe put some context on just what that challenge is like for a young player?
Yeah, I mean, I love Damone's story. I mean, you just think about, meeting him at the combine, obviously watching him play, and then, then obviously we go through the injury that was identified, and really from day one, excuse me, I mean, he has just been a stud. I mean, just the way he attacked it, got himself ready, did as good a job as you possibly could without practicing, being on top of things. And yeah, I mean, you never expect to see him play this much, but it's been beneficial. And and we talk about this every time we visit the young players that have have the play time. It's great for them, but it's great for a football team. I mean, it makes us so much better, because the fact that he's getting all these reps on defense, is only going to make him better on special teams. It's only going to give him more confidence, and and he's got a very bright light, that young man. I mean, he's a young man that's going to be impactful around here for a long time, in my opinion. So I think we're seeing the beginning of an outstanding career.
Obviously, you paid your dues to to get where you are. You see Jeff Saturday as the interim coach. There's been a lot of opinions on it. Where do you stand on guys coming from the booth to take over a job like yours?
I mean, I think like anything in this league, you know, I don't want to say this negatively, but I mean, when you think you've seen it all, something else happens, and so you got to be open-minded to it. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different path, but it's the path that they chose, and you know, in the reality of it, it doesn't mean anything to us because we need to beat the Colts on Sunday night, and that's really the facts that matter. So, it doesn't matter who's really coaching or playing, and because based off of what we just got done doing all day today, really focusing on ourselves, then that's where we got to keep our mind at. So, but yeah, I mean, you're talking about a talented football team. I mean, they got good tape, and obviously, you always know coaches on the other staff. So, this is going to be a big challenge, just like it is every week.
We'll finish up with Brad.
Brad Sham, Cowboys Radio. Mike, while nobody was looking, the league has become right on the verge of becoming a running league. Everybody's running. What happened?
It's called trends, Brad. I mean, you should know that better than anybody. I think, I think you're getting to that time of year too. So I think weather usually dictates, the ability to want to run it more. We're all seeking some balance. I think, frankly, in my opinion, I think the development and the ability for offensive lines to get ready to play in today's game is a challenge. Not only do they do not have enough time in training and run blocking, they definitely don't have it in pass protection. So I think all those things are part of the conversations you have, and how you view these defenses. I mean, there's you don't play too many defensive lines that don't have at least 2 or 3 first-round picks on it. So there's a high emphasis on pass rush. The rules changes, all these things play into that. So because at the end of the day, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to be effective, get the ball distributed, and keep our quarterback clean, generate big plays and score points.
Thank you.